I want to talk to you about two phrases. Private citizen, public sector. The original intent of our founding fathers was that there is a difference between the government officials and the private citizens. Private citizens, the key word being private. I have private property, I have a private life, and it's not the government's business, what I do in my private life. Now, if I choose to step out of being a private citizen and run for public office, now I'm representing the private citizen, and I am now a public official, so what I do is public knowledge. Unfortunately, we live in a just different society right now, and I think it's the most dangerous times that we've ever lived in. We are no longer private citizens. If you own a smartphone, guess what? Everything you do on this phone is being collected by the U.S. government. And just a few short years ago, this was like crazy conspiratorial talk. Not to the likes of Julian Assange, who spent the last 20 years researching how the government and the global elites have been doing whatever they can to control and get information from private citizens. But it was because Edward Snowden, when he released the paperwork about how the NSA was doing metadata collecting on everybody. George Bush started it, under the Patriot Act, and the left was crying foul. But I will say this: back then, the original intent was, if somebody was using keywords like Allah Akbar and calling Afghanistan, that would get flagged, and that phone call would be recorded or whatever they were doing. Now, because of what Snowden did, we all know that these are no longer rumors that the government is collecting everything, that it's actual fact. And, Julian and WikiLeaks has exposed this. And, of course, the left, or I don't even want to use right-left. Let's just use the elite, okay, or the establishment. And that's one thing I kind of think where Trump is going with this whole election is he's not really, pushing right or pushing left. He's pushing anti-establishment, anti-global elite, global corporate, control, with the likes of Google and Facebook and AT&T and Verizon and all these corporate, the international corporations who will do whatever it takes to expand and control. And, if I can go down this rabbit trail of the CIA, only because I kind of lost track a little bit about where I was going, but you go back to the banana wars. The CIA, when America says, we're looking out for your best interests, they're really looking out for the best interests of the international corporations, which is why, we foment overthrows of government in order to America's interest. But when they say that, I digress. But so Edward Snowden exposed this whole metadata collecting by the U.S. government, and it's not really part of the political dialogue in this presidential cycle, which I don't understand, because it's maybe I'm coming full circle here, but to me, it's the biggest scandal in the history of the United States. And it's not just America that's doing it. According to these folks that have all the information, I'm going back to Wiki and Snowden, it's everybody who's doing it. Everybody is doing it. And, if I can encourage you to look up 5 Eyes. And that's a rabbit trail I don't feel like going down right now. But look up 5 Eyes, and they'll just get a little snippet about what's going on. So when WikiLeaks, Julian Assange released the information that Bradley Manning had put out about what was going on in Afghanistan and I don't know about Iraq, about what was going on with the military. Yeah, I think Iraq too. Iraq. About how the U.S. military was, bombing civilians, and I don't want to go into whether it was inadvertent or deliberate, whatever. The Abu Ghraib, the torture, or the methods, the enhanced methods that the U.S. government was using to get information. Julian Assange and WikiLeaks was a hero to the left. But now that he's releasing information on Hillary Clinton, all of a sudden, the CIA, Hillary Clinton still has, deep, deep ties in the government. So, there's no question in my mind. She picked up the phone, called the CIA, called John Kerry, and coerced the Ecuadorian government to cut off his internet. So that's pretty powerful. And the United Nations has already said that his request for asylum is 100% legal, and his detainment by the British government and how they have surrounded the Ecuadorian embassy is 100% illegal. And, whenever somebody is a whistleblower, they immediately trump up charges against them. Usually, these trumped up sexual charges. What they did with Snowden is they called him a Russian spy. Well, give me a break, He turned over what he knew based on his conscience, and he didn't really, he considers himself a whistleblower, that America is collecting information on every single citizen. So he talked to these media types at The Guardian and somebody else, I believe. He met them in Hong Kong. I think it was Hong Kong. And said, listen, before you release this information, I want you to get a hold of the American government and make sure nobody's going to be harmed. Just touch base with them, because I'm not trying to hurt anybody. I'm just trying to blow the whistle on how the U.S. government is completely violating the U.S. Constitution and any moral code known to any society on Earth by invading our private space. And so there's this huge manhunt for him, and he actually ended up going to a bunch of different embassies looking for asylum. And he was kind of a pariah, because USA America is a superpower, and everybody was kind of hands off. And so finally he was going to go to South America, and he had his flight booked through this route throughout Europe. And on his way to Russia for a connecting flight, America canceled his passport, so he was stuck in Russia. And then they go out, and the Americans go out and say, "Look, he's a Russian spy." And then Hillary's doing this. Every time Hillary opens her mouth, it's the Russians, it's the Russians. It's classic projection. It's classic Cicero style of oration, where you project your ills upon other people. And in that regard, she's winning the debates, the political debate, because she's using such a classic style of trying to win. So the John Birch Society was right all along, and people like William F. Buckley, famous conservative, made a career out of trying to destroy people, like the Birchers. But it's true. This whole international cabal of unelected bureaucrats is absolutely pulling the strings and controlling you and I. And here we are in America, thinking about what's the next generation going to be like. Are we going to be a free society? Are we going to go back to our roots of private citizen, public sector? Or are we going to continue down this road where the government kind of oppresses everything that we do? I, for one, am more concerned about the next generation than myself. I'm not one of these couch potatoes who sits at home, who's content on collecting my pension or my, state pension or municipal pension or federal government pension or welfare or food stamps or my free Obama phones or my free electricity or my Section 8 housing. I'm somebody who works, the 60 hours a week, the 55 hours a week, who's seen my health insurance just completely destroyed. And my costs go skyrocketing so I can subsidize everybody else. I'm infuriated by that. And so I'm more concerned about the next generation than I am myself. And I'm not content to just sit back and say, I got mines, screw the next generation. And if we don't put a stop to this international control, then we're doomed. We're completely doomed. And I wasn't warm on Trump in the beginning. Matter of fact, I was for Ted Cruz in the beginning, honestly, and I jumped ship pretty early in the primary once I find out Ted Cruz testified in front of the Gang of Eight, and he was completely two-faced over this whole immigration thing. And I could see that Trump, like Trump says, he's like, hey, look, America benefited me. I made a lot of money in this country, but I don't like the direction that it's going. So I'm going to take all the slings and arrows, which he has been, for the American people, so he can step in there and quote-unquote drain the swamp. So I encourage you to just be aware. Metadata collecting of the U.S. government is so evil. And it's not just America. It's Australia, it's Germany, it's England, it's Russia, it's China. It's unbelievable. So we got to fight back. And it's not just in America. It's the entire world of this evil corruption that we are up against. And if you want to remain, you want to keep your property rights and all the constitutional rights that you have, you got to push back. And you can't elect Hillary Clinton because she is totally in bed. Matter of fact, if she thinks WikiLeaks is the only people that has her emails, she is foolish. Okay? I guarantee you that Russia is not the only person or the only state agency that has all her emails and possibly her medical records. But if she's elected president, all any of these countries have to do is dangle these, most damaging aspects of her life in front of her, and she's completely hamstrung. And she won't be able to negotiate. She won't be able to do anything. So that's why she's using the Cicero style of oration and projecting this Achilles problem that she has onto Donald Trump. And it's completely laughable to most people that get the news in other sources than the mainstream media, the corporate media. So that's my rant for today. I mean, I could do one of these every single day, but like I said earlier, I work 55 hours a week, so I don't really have the time, So please do your research and don't vote for Hillary Clinton. Vote for the next generation. Thanks.